Hello, welcome and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, to the season finale of the Dansk Automobile Sports Union F4 Esports Danish Championship for 2025, as proudly brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. We are here today at the Sebring International Raceway in the Sunshine State of the United States of America, and that is Florida. A circuit that is known to be bumpy in many a regard, whether it be the old asphalt and concrete slabs of the local Army airbase known as the Hendricks Army Airfield, all the way through to its absolute medley of corners with low-speed hairpins, medium-speed sweepers and high-speed elongated corners, most likely referring to what is Sunset Bend of all of the corners out there. It is a circuit like no other when it mixes variety together and means it's a highly unpredictable circuit, regardless of if you're racing in GT3 or open-wheel machinery. But thankfully, we're in open-wheel machinery here today in the Formula 4 machines to crown our champions in this series. In the commentary booth, you have myself, Paul Walsh, also known as TX1 for One, depending on what media you follow me on, and alongside me is my good friend and colleague, Hasse Roma. Good evening to you, Hasse, and what a round we've got in store. A title fight on the line and plenty also to settle further down the order.
Definitely so. It's going to be an incredible night of racing. I think we can safely say here, Sebring, such an unpredictable track, and a track that really has it all. Big braking zones for those overtaking opportunities, and of course, as you mentioned, Paul, I think what will be on every driver's mind tonight is just how these F4 machines are going to handle the bumps at Sebring, through Sunset, through Turn 1, basically down to Christensen as well, and these places in the track that really tend to offset and unbalance the cars. It's going to be a show.
Oh, without a doubt. We've got such a show in store with two more races to go in what is our season finale and the perfect circuit to wrap it up. And there are the standings after what is 5 of 6 rounds with a drop score accounted for as well. And at the top is the battle between Molde Edrup and Victor Truslov-Nielsen. 9 points separate them. And then it is a sizable gap to P3 Noah Carlson, the man who just wants to hold on to third place in the championship coming into this round. And then it is a three-way fight for P4 between Marcus de Kilson, Kasper Ruto Andersen and Marcus Olsen. Nicholas Simonson, Sander Robert, Sebastian Bach and Asger Lauritsen completing up that top 10, and it is so tight outside the top 5. It's so tight at the bottom end of the top 5, and at the very top at the Premier, well, it's the battle of the two. And provisionally last time out, we thought Molde Edrup was your champion, albeit not quite. He's still got some work to do, and Victor Truslov-Nielsen could still pull the carpet out from underneath his rival. And so that means we can't take anything for granted until we get to that final checker flag of the season, and that's what we love to have in such a long championship.
Definitely so, and just looking at it here, you've been doing the maths, Paul, and I'm going to take credit for it here. Molde Edrup, his lowest round score has been 32 points. That was from the opening round at Spa. He's ahead by 5 points, and on wins, of course, he's been picking up a lot of those throughout this season. He needs to improve his drop score count by 14 points. That means he needs to score 46 points overall tonight in order to secure the title, regardless of Victor Truslov-Nielsen's performance and whatever he pulls out of the bag tonight. Victor Truslov-Nielsen has a lowest round score of 36. That's from round 2 at Okayama, and he needs to improve by at least 6 points. That is scoring 32 if Edrup does not improve at all. And I've been thinking about this as well, like how can things play into the hand of the relative underdog here, Victor Truslov-Nielsen. And I think I know Molde Edrup's a good friend of his, is a teammate of his, so obviously they won't be wishing each other the worst in that regard. But if Edrup has a stroke of terrible luck and is pulled up into something in the first race and then has to start from the far back of the grid for the second one, that could make things play into the hands of Victor Truslov-Nielsen. So certainly everything to watch. And I think actually we made it sound a lot more closed off after 2 weeks ago, Paul, because well, frankly, we thought so. Malte Edrup has been winning so much. There's no possible way that it's still going to be open, but it is. Paul, I'm going to go back to you now because we're within qualifying. We're going to take a look at the standings shortly, and we are on board with our current championship leader, Malte Edrup.
Oh, indeed we are, and with that analysis in terms of where we stand at the championship, coming to the here and now, where right now Edrup roaring his way around there as he looks to make an adjustment to his sim racing rig as well, doing it at such a speed as he comes through Big Bend and in towards the turn 7 hairpin. And the thing about the Sebring circuit is the fact that it has, as we mentioned earlier, a little bit of everything. And for these Formula 4 cars, it's got 4 long straights, some very tight corner sequences, and it is a circuit, one of the oldest in the United States of America, dating all the way back to just after the Second World War. And that means that this circuit has a lot of character built into it, and it really is one of those circuits whereby you can even see in these wonderful low-level camera shots that our broadcast directors provide us with, where we can see just all the little bumps, the microscopic road surface changes from corner to corner. And that means even in qualifying, you've got to go out there for your fastest possible lap to put yourself right at the front of the field. Well, even the smallest of mistakes, the slight bit of over-pushing can lead to you making an absolutely grotesque error, and it can put you all the way down the bottom. But as we see currently, it's Fredrik Sørensen who is leading the way in qualifying by only 24 thousandths over Noah Carlson. And there's a lot of drivers here today who are very eager to be on that podium, if not take more wins. And one of which, of course, was our Race 2 winner at the Circuit de Navarra, and that was none other than Kasper Raceway Andersen, who finally picked up that win after such a long gap in victories and pushing for them time and time again. So the thing is, Hasse, it may not just be down to our 2 title contenders today. We could have plenty of drivers here who all put themselves right in the frame, and they're doing that in qualifying straight away.
Yeah, definitely. So just a tenth of a second from Victor Troelsen Nielsen to the current second place sitter, that's Frederik Sørensen, and then Noah Carlson just having ripped off the third place on the podium, if you will, from, at least provisionally, from Kasper Raceway Andersen. They still will have a single, maybe 2 laps. I think most of them will have 2 laps, but it's a long lap here, about double the time it'll take, at least a little bit more actually, compared to where we were 2 weeks ago at Nevada, and that's gonna make for a very, very different racetrack to approach, and it's a track that's just so hard for you to really get the setup for the car correctly on, because you want a bit of everything. You want the suspension to be firm, and you want the car to ride low, but you got these bumps, so it's just a heap of compromises to really make everything work here. It's a track that I personally love to drive around in a car that's set up well for it, that behaves in a predictable manner how you want it to, but if you don't have that, it's just a struggle, and you can see it through sunset here for Frederik Sørensen as the car is skipping left and right in the middle of a relatively high-speed corner in a car that has a relatively large amount of downforce considering how fast it's actually going. And this is gonna make for an interesting race, also just to see how the field will react to drivers and cars being unsettled mid-corner when they're going 2 and 3 wide, which I think they might just do in sunset at some point. I would not be surprised to see it at all. Here's Victor Troelsen Nielsen. He's coming in, we're on board. And just to look at the steering input, very precise, but so many micro adjustments as well. He actually keeps it very well balanced, doesn't take too much of the outside line as we would do in a GTP or a GT3, something a little bit more stable. Let's see if he can improve upon his lap time from earlier. It doesn't look like it, but he will have at least, well, not at least, he will have one more chance, and that's it. I'm just not used to it. The laps have been short for most of the season. We haven't seen lap times like this since we're at Spa, Paul.
Oh, 100%. And with the longer lap time here, with a lap spanning the best part of 3.74 miles, or alternatively at 6.01 kilometers, it is our longest lap of the season, excluding Spa-Francorchamps in our season opener. And it means we have really gone from long circuits to short circuits and back to a long circuit once again. And as our drivers roar the way around here, well, they're on to their final flying laps, or if they're not, they will have to be very shortly, given the fact that it's just over 2 minutes and 3 seconds to get a lap in here, or 2 minutes and 2 seconds if you're more the Edrup. But looking at Noah Carlson here as he makes his way now into Lamont corner. And a little bit of trivia for you, in the early days of this circuit, back when it was run on the old airfield runways, it wasn't quite as clearly marked as it is today, and a lot of drivers had to retire from races simply through getting lost and driving deeper into the local airfield. But as we see Noah Carlson not getting lost and finding his way, he doesn't either sat nav for that. We'll head into Sunset Bend and all the way through the long right hand. You can cut this many different ways, but he's going to go nice and deep before turning in. Absolutely fully committed. You can see the look at his face, absolute concentration. position and heading towards that timeline. What's it going to be as he comes on through? Currently P3, half a second off the pole. And does he improve there as he crosses that timeline? I do not think so, unless I'm mistaken. Meanwhile, Asger Lauritsen moves up there to what is P7, just ahead of Marcus Tukilson. Here comes Nicholas Vine, meanwhile, all the way through the long scoop. And as he goes, well, I think there's more change of the foot here, Hasse.
Look at the lap time there from Malte Ebdrup, Paul, for almost half a second clear of second place. That is such a huge margin. I have no idea how he pulled that sort of lap time off. And we have Victor Trosner Nielsen knowing that he has to absolutely send it to get anywhere near his championship rival. At least so far, it looks like they're going to be first and second on the grid as well, and in the according order. He does get closer. It's just about 0.3 of a second off now, 0.270 that is. So certainly not bad for Victor Trosner Nielsen. I think that'll be enough to secure him a front row seat for the race start, Paul. It's going to be all important, but I don't think it's going to be as hard as we've seen on some of the other track we've been to. Okayama especially, it was really hard for the drivers to overtake. Here there should be more opportunities, but given the twisty nature of the track and that it isn't the widest track in the world, at least in some places, might also make it a little bit easier to defend. But I just cannot see with these cars and with the amount of slipstreaming that you get from being behind someone else, at least if you're close enough, I just can't see it being a dull one here. I think we're going to have a lot of action.
Oh, definitely. I'm with you on that. And qualifying comes to a close. 10 minutes of qualifying's complete, and we'll shortly walk you through that grid. But Mulder Edrup leading up the way there in qualifying and laying down a marker. So here's your grid then for race number 1 of the season finale. And Mulder Edrup takes pole position for Arctic Sim Sport by Drup DK by the best part of 0.3 over Victor Trudev Nielsen. Then on row number 2, it's Noah Carlson and Gustav Killer ahead of Kasper Riese Andersen and Fredrik Sørensen. Keep your eyes out for both of them on row number 3. They're very fast drivers. Asger Lauritsen starts P7 ahead of Marcus Tukilson. A great little rivalry between those two has been going on all season. We then have Nicholas Simonsen and Luke Reimer completing your top 10, with row 6 going to Nikolai and Peterson and Marcus Olsen. That's your 6th row. Row number 7, it's Magnus Jørgensen ahead of Nicholas Vine. And then we have Sender Brobert ahead of Mads Luna, who starts P16, with Vitus Bever for Irish Competition Esport P17 ahead of Gustav Wimber. And then last but not least, Kasper Tunstedt, the rookie of this season. He starts his journey P19 in his penultimate race of the season. The number 20 driver there will just be keeping his eyes open and seeing what opportunities he can claim. But the grid is gradually filling up here. The sun is shining down, and well, as our drives grid here has it, I mean, it's going to be a long journey. Those 20 minutes, it won't be too many laps that we have, but the thing is here, like you said earlier, they are going to be tense and exciting laps. And well, there's the man who knows all he's got to do is stay one step ahead of his teammate but main rival, and that is Mulder Edrup versus Victor Trudev Nielsen. But both of them locking in here and ready to go.
Yeah, definitely so, and it's a run that we're not used to seeing from a standing start here at Sebring. Usually every race here will be a rolling start, so just getting the grip on the concrete surface is going to be quite difficult, and there could be drivers struggling with it in these machines. We must be getting close. I was about to say, Paul. Looks like we have pretty much everyone gridded up. Maybe a few cars at the back, 1 or 2 still missing, but that'll be about it. I think the drivers are... well, they're going to be maybe a little bit sad, just like we are, that it's coming to an end. It's been such a good series. It's been such a good amount of fun. It's been some of the best racing I have ever seen on this platform, and in general at all, actually. And here we go, actually, Paul. It's about time.
All right, without further ado, it is going to be for race number 1 of round 6 of the championship. The lights are on, and it's lights out, and away we go here at Sebring for the first time today. And it's a good launch there by Mulder Edrup. Immediately as they roar the one down, everyone immediately scooping into the tyre if you're not too free wide as they come into the opening bend. And as they roar the way through a left-hander with that lovely drone shot there, following that behind what is our 5th place man of Noah, what is Kasper Riese Andersen, and free wide they go then in towards turn number 3. Hard on the brakes. It's going to be a battle around the outside here. And Gustav Killer just holding the middle ground as they now make the way in towards turn number 5. This is absolutely brilliant racing between them, and Riese Andersen in the end surviving that. Looks at Gustav Killer having an absolutely phenomenal start and showing no fear in terms of battling with his rivals immediately. And once they make the way through Big Bend, now it's going to be line astern for a brief moment as they all coming down. You can see there a quick peek from Victor Nielsen looking up the inside as they make the way over our camera there in towards the braking zone, getting very close, a bit further back there, and we'll get very tasty and testy between a couple of drivers. Number 13, Asger Lauritsen, they're having a small tap off of what Nikolai Peterson by the looks of things. But all the drivers here safely through the opening half of the lap, Hasse, and already now we're seeing our leaders starting to open up a little bit of a gap. But the fighting's not over yet further down the order.
No, and you're wondering if Victor Trosler Nielsen is going to be as diplomatic with his fighting as we saw 2 weeks ago at Navarro, because he certainly waited a long time to make his move on Malte Ebdrup there. He might do the same thing here, but I have a sneaking suspicion it might kick off a little bit earlier between the two, as we see two wide further down the field here as we're on board with one of the Arctic Sim drivers. This is Luke Reimer, I think. 3 wide, that is, must be. And that's a big moment there, Luke Reimer in the 19 machine, but just about keeps his composure and just about gets it. Oh, and I say that a moment too soon, I'm afraid, because that is a huge incident. And I think that is Reimer into the barrier. His race 1 will be over for tonight, I'm afraid, Paul. That was a massive shunt there.
Oh, it was, and I believe that was Luke Reimer and Nicholas Vine coming together as they made the way down through Bishop and in towards what was Le Mans Corner. We'll have to try and get a replay of that if we can and see what happened there, try and dissect it. But meanwhile, through Sunset Bend, it's not over yet in terms of 2-3 wide. You think they're battling on the final lap of the race, not the opening one, as they make the way down the start finish straight here. And well, the number 13 of Asker Lauritsen has been pushed all the way down the order, but he's not giving up here. He's absolutely sticking in it to win it as he goes side by side there with what is Mats Luna. And Luna in the end gets the inside of turn number 1. Lauritsen's going to go deep, and Magnus Jørgensen, meanwhile, tries to now find a way in the number 14 to squeeze in amongst all of this and try and pick up the places. A small lock up there into turn number 3 from our leader in that pack. And as they come through that left-hander, through turn number 5 and on to the curvature, oh my goodness, a big wobble and a big spin there. And I believe that was Vitas Biver going around after pushing it so hard coming out of turn number 5. But in the end, end up in the barrier. What is our third driver then having to tow to the pit lane? And well, all the battling going on at back here right now, it's absolutely endless. And these drivers all fighting over what will be a short number of points. But to be fair, and to them, these points mean just as much as a race win.
Yeah, that was a bit of an unlucky moment for Vitus Beber there, just taking a little bit too much of the outside curb. It's very steep, and these cars will not take kindly to that. They'll be unsettled by way less than that. So he did a good job to keep it, but he was on the receiving end of a heavy tank slapper. So we're still now on board here on the top of the screen. Oh, that's the replay from before. My apologies. I think the situation with 3 wide here, not quite. I think this is the incident with Reimer. A little bit of touch. They tangle. He goes off, comes back on. And for now, you think he's good. Maybe thrown off a little bit. But just makes that slight bit of contact. And that's one of those accidents, Paul, you're happy not to have seen happen in real life, because he got absolutely launched from the top of the car of Niklas Wein, and a heavy shunt indeed here as Victor Trosler Nielsen tries to get the run on the inside on Malte Ebdrup. Not quite close enough. Maybe gets a little bit too far away from him and out of the side draft as well. A slight gap then down to Gustav Kiele, Kasper Rishøj Andersen, Frederik Sørensen, and Noah Carlson has all gone past as well on. Well, I'm looking down the order to see what happened to our Gustav Kiele's up in 3rd place. So what a flyer from the 11 car. I thought he'd been out because I saw Kasper Rishøj Andersen back in 4th place. But that has been courtesy of someone else. I think Noah Carlson in the number 3 car, Paul, who lost a few positions on the previous lap. And I wonder what happened to him in that situation. But interesting to see that the top 2 drivers haven't been able to really break the toe down to Gustav Kiele, Kasper Rishøj Andersen, and the rest of the bunch who are still in with a fighting chance here.
Oh, 100%. And it does look as though here for Victor Trosler Nielsen, we saw that little peek into turn 1 to see whether he could potentially go for the move. But he's got to play this smart here in the fact that because he is the championship chaser here, he needs the points more than Malte Ebdrup needs to. And he'll be aware of the fact that his better consistency over the course of the season technically is hurting him a little bit in this drop score format, whereby he needs to score more compared to his rival in order to gain some points in this round. But leaving all the mathematics outside the door for now, one thing that also there, and we're talking about Gustav Kiele in P P3. A little bit about him going into this round. He was disappointed with his performance over the course of round number 5, given the major incident involved in race number 1 and his great recovery in race number 2, only for it to end up in a spin with only minutes to go before that checker flag. So he's really come into this one feeling as though he's got a point to prove, and his practice was extremely good, and that's why in P3 he's doing so well. But holding the phone there, as we've got Marcus Tekilson here battling with the number 3, Noah Carlson. Carlson going defensive. Meanwhile, behind that is going to be Nicholas Simonson also trying to get involved here as they go too wide through Sunset Bend, and as they make the way through, brilliant space being given to the 2 drivers there, just missing the wall if you're in the number 15. My good lord. And as they make the way across that timeline, well, right now it's going to be all about what be Marcus Tekilson on the inside here, trying to keep Nicholas Simonson at bay. But you can see there Noah Carlson having to be wary of the fact that right now he does have Tekilson right there. And in fact, Carlson lets that get under his skin. Here comes Simonson, meanwhile, looking up the inside here. All in on the brakes. It's going to be brave. Mounts the curb, and it's a dive to the inside. It's turn 3, and he takes the place and moves up into P6. The number 10 driver absolutely nailing it there, albeit he's not going to break away. But what this will do is cause this pack to fall away from the top 5. The gap now up to 2 seconds towards the top 5. You can see them all running off into the distance here, and the fighting is proving costly. But to be fair, it may be costly for them. But I think for us here in the commentary booth and the guys and girls tuning at home, we're absolutely all loving this right now. We want to see more of it.
Yeah, but the top 5 has been bunching up since the opening lap, Paul. Gustav Kille now just 0.6 of a second off of the back of our current race leader, Malte Ebdrup. So it's definitely not over. And if they start fighting up ahead, these guys will be in with a good shot of getting back on. So my best advice, and it's not like I'm any sort of wise guy or anything, but my best advice here would be actually to just sort of keep tabs on the battling and see if they would start battling up ahead. And before they know it, they'll be in with a fighting chance for a podium shot even here. And that's, after all, preferable to fighting for 6th or 7th place. Of course, we do have our 7th heat. That would be an interesting amount of heats to have in a night. No, our 2nd heat. 20 minutes coming up, and with a reverse grid for the top 8. So we'll have our 8th place finisher for the opening heat starting on pole position for heat 2. Big moment there for the 14. Oh my word, and it ends in tears further down the order. I think that's Mads Lunde and Magnus Jørgensen, both of them involved, just tangling ever so slightly, able to go on, but that's not what we want to see. An unorderly moment there for the 2, Paul. Back with the leaders we are, and Victor Troslev Nielsen is closer than close. It feels like here, Paul, that he could reach out from his cockpit beyond the halo and maybe just tingle the car of Malte Ebdrup ever so slightly up ahead. He's that close. And to see these drivers just move like a centipede on the track, so impressive. Here we have the incident from before.
As they're making their way through it, just a little bit of a wobble there coming off of the left-hand curve of turn number 15, and that wobble there, I believe, being for not as Mads Lunde, but I think for Magnus Jørgensen, and in the end, Lunde being in the wrong place at the right time to end up coming into the scene of what was an impending incident. And well, brilliant replay there to show what happened. It's those fine margins. That's the thing. When these incidents happen between our drivers, it's not because they're being careless. It's because they are driving on the edge. And a number of the drivers were saying in the build-up to today, the one thing they've taken away from this season is how you have to be on the edge for every lap and every corner. And speaking of which, here comes the move around the outside for Victor Nielsen as he looks at the move all the way through. This is going to be very brave, and he's going to get to the inside here through what is turn number 11 in towards 12 and 13. Gustav Kille also thinking about getting involved here. We'll keep it clean, lads. We don't want to see the championship end up in the grass. And as they come through the right hand, Malte Ebdrup gets back ahead by the smallest of margins, albeit it's not over yet, because now they'll be making the way 2 wide in towards Bishop Corner at turn number 14. Through left hand, they go 3 wide almost. There's Gustav Kille says, you know what, I can get into the fun. And meanwhile, we ride on board here with 4th place man Kasper Raceway Anderson, who wants to go for even more wins here. But right now he's going to be playing the patience game as the 2 in the lead start to battle even more coming out Le Mans Court. That's a run wide. I believe that's Victor Troslev Nielsen who runs out into the grass and cuts the weeds for a little bit. But they make the way down the back stretch here, heading all the way out towards Sunset Bend. Gustav Kille looks to the inside. This is going to get very, very tasty. He's got barely any room. The wall's so close, and as they head in towards Sunset, it's 3 wide. And right now, place your bets. Gustav Kille gets ahead. He goes all in. Meanwhile, Raceway Anderson backs off there and lets Sørensen in. And as they come round for the final corner, we're at the halfway point of race number 1 of the day. And Kille now leads this race as he comes across the timing line. But hold the phone, it's not over yet. As we can see, it's going to be Malte Ebdrup one side of him. Meanwhile, Troslev Nielsen at the other side. 3 wide, they go into the opening corner. And Malte Ebdrup sweeps around the outside here. Meanwhile, it's going to be on the inside. Fredrik Sørensen going all in. And right right now. They're not giving us a single breather as they come into the break zone for turn number 3. And Sorensen versus Raceway Anderson. They're going to fall back to a battle for P4, but it will be Raceway Anderson who gets ahead. They're going around the outside through turns 4 and 5. And at long last, that whole sequence of brilliant battling comes to a brief pause. But goodness me, I mean, what an absolutely incredible moment. And it's still not over.
It's certainly not over. We got 9 minutes left of racing on this heat. That was half a lap, Paul, or a little bit more, maybe even, side by side, continuously. And Malte Ebdrup on the outside through turn 1 and hanging onto it by the tip of his nails. He does not want to budge. He does not want to let Victor Trøsten or anyone past here. He wants to remain in command and in control of this race with no one up in front. And he's doing that so brilliantly right now. But it will have allowed drivers a chance, at least further back. You would expect to get back in it, but it's not really closing up. The top 5 does seem to be running away ever so slightly. Gustav Kiele, it has to be said, Paul, tonight is driving his pants off here. He's doing such a sterling job. Some of the strongest driving we've seen from him throughout the season. Really mending it in with the 2 top contenders there. And you can see with the drone shot here just how far onto the curbs they are. And you can see the cars constantly getting unsettled. The drivers as well, of course, using the rotation, trying to get the car to slide a little bit and straighten up the steering and basically use the throttle to steer the car through the rest of the corner sequence. This will be the quickest in a relatively low-powered race car like this, where you really want to keep momentum, you really want to keep the speed going. Oh, and you can see the big bump there on the inside, and actually Ebdrup staying a little bit wider there than Victor Trøsten, taking a little bit less of the bump, and maybe, just maybe being able to keep that little bit extra speed through sunset.
Oh, 100%, and the analysis there absolutely on point for yourself, Hassett, in terms of positioning as our drivers make the way towards turn number 1, and Malte Ebdrup using that outside line just to carry a little bit more speed, as we see a brief run wide there from Frederik Sørensen in at P5 as he tries to stay latched onto the back of this battle. And as they come through turns 3 through to 5, it is the calm before the storm right now. We're not talking about the weather, we're talking about potential battling that's to come. And I think this top 5 all right now waiting for the next opportunity. And well, the first driver you would imagine who would go for launch would be Victor Trøsten Nielsen, as meanwhile we do have a 3-second penalty for the number 1 car for causing a collision, and that was for an earlier instant, and that was awarded to Marcus Olsen for much earlier on in the race. We do have some penalties making the way on through. Our stewards hard at work, as they always are here as part of this championship, and well, as the drivers make the way upwards towards turn number 10. Right now there is nothing in it between the top 5. Further back we do have a little bit of battling going on for P7 between Marcus Tikkelsen and Noah Carlson, but we're transfixed here with that fighting as we do split the cameras. Goodness me, our director read our minds here, would see all the battling at once. So there's the 2 wide in that battle for what is at P7 and P8 as they make the way at the bottom of your camera in towards turn number 13, and Marcus Olsen is squeezing his way up the inside of Noah Carlson in towards turn number 13, and meanwhile leaders already down towards 14 and 15 here, and our leaders just being a little bit more sedate at the moment, although saying that Victor Trøsten Nielsen absolutely running glued to the back of Malte Ebdrup, as you said earlier, Hasse, and I think right now he wants to be so close he could reach out and touch his rival's rear wing, albeit I think it's all about also the worry that Gustav Kiele could once again become another player in this.
Yeah, definitely. So Kiele will be licking his lips. The more battling he sees up ahead, the better it is for him. And we saw just before that he's not afraid to take his opportunities by the... Well, I'll not utter those words here, but you know what I mean. Here as Victor Trøsten Nielsen goes to the outside of Sunset, forcing Ebdrup over the big bumps. And you can see Ebdrup is getting very close to the wall here. I think he's at a compromised exit. This time around, Victor Trøsten Nielsen's going to move to the outside of turn 1 and maybe try to do to Malte Ebdrup what Malte Ebdrup did to himself and Gustav Kiele a few laps ago. But Malte Ebdrup, cool, calm, and collected, keeps the speed at the apex of the corner, the optimal racing line. There again goes Victor Trøsten Nielsen to the outside, gets a little bit too much oversteer through Christensen, but he just about manages to hold on. I guess it's a Danish series, we can call it Christensen here, because Tom Christensen, obviously the Le Mans winning legend, naming that corner. And they do have corner names as well, but I always mix them up. Le Mans, I do remember, and there's Cunningham, and we've got a few different... Anyway, we don't have time for corner names. There's too much racing going on here. Victor Trøsten Nielsen is trying to find the... Well, he's basically trying to find his chisel to just get it in there, and then maybe just punch an opening in so he can see if he can get past on Malte Ebdrup. Now, though, he gets a poor exit, and Gustav Kiele is on his outside as they come in towards the final sector of the track here, but he's going to be left no real space on the outside, taking so much curb, managing to keep it under control. Gustav Kille with a real brave run here. Now he's got the company from Kasper Ishøj Andersen, though, as if you attack one, you just make yourself vulnerable from attacks from behind, as we've seen so many times this season, Paul. You really have to be tactic, you really have to be strategic with how you approach these races, and Frederik Sørensen got a first-class seat to all that action up ahead. It's quite incredible what we're seeing here tonight, at least regarding that they're not really getting the overtaking done, but my, are they close.
100%. I agree with you there. It's so close. I mean, I can't imagine what their heart rates must be in those cockpits right now, but I can tell you one thing, my heart rate is going through the roof here just watching this. The sheer anxiety, but also excitement how close they are. But here comes a move then for P4. This is going to be Frederik Sørensen up the inside of Raceway Andersen as they make the way on through, and Raceway Andersen backs off there, tucks immediately back in, not wanting to run too close to his rival. In fact, he switches back to the outside now, so this becomes a bit more of a fight for P4. This will just release the top three slightly going on to what will be the penultimate lap of this race. When we've got 3 minutes to go, goodness me, time flies when you're having fun. And as they make the way round for return of one, that's going to be a lovely sweeping move there from Raceway Andersen to retake P4. But Gustav Kille falling back a little bit off the back of Victor Truslov Nielsen, but he's building himself up to another attack shortly, as all 5 of these drivers all in it to potentially win. And further back, meanwhile, we've still got that battle for P7. It's not ending between Marcus Tekilsen and Marcus Olsen. Whatever scripts they got to say they calm the fighting down, they've torn that up and thrown it in the bin. They're writing their own script here, which is there in an absolutely lovely little ding-dong battle between the number 1 and the number 15. Keep in mind, of course, that Marcus Olsen does have a 3-second penalty that we applied after the race, so therefore he's got to contest with that. But penalties aside, as we see there, an absolute move to the inside into turn 7 from what was Frederik Sørensen, goes a bit deep. Raceway Andersen counters him back, and as they make the way through turns 8, 9 up towards 10, through Fangio corners, it's known. Well, meanwhile, we do see a little bit further back, that back and forth again between Marcus Tekilsen and Marcus Olsen, the bottom of your screen. And well, right now, these battles absolutely neck and neck. But meanwhile, back towards the very front at the top of your screen, Molde Edge versus Victor Joseph Nielsen. It's part 3 of this battle, and as they come in towards turn number 13, through the right, and they go, they're very close. They almost tap wheels, they're coming through, and we ride on board here with the man in the popcorn seat view, Gustav Kille, who'll be watching this right now thinking, who do I place my bets on? Who do I go with? Well, he's going to try and go behind Mulder Edrup here as he looks to tuck him behind the 22, the 21 of Victor Joseph Nielsen, back on the inside as they go to the right-hander, just giving enough space to breathe. And here comes now Kille looking to cut it back as wide as he possibly can. He's going to try and slingshot, but it's a big slide there as they come out of the corner. Onto the back straight they go. But now we have the double draft here, and he's going to pick up a lot of speed. We can see Edrup covers him off. Then Victor Joseph Nielsen follows on before Gustav Kille can get alongside. And as they make the way down, it's going to be 3 wide here behind the leader in the battle for P2. You can see Nielsen looking to the inside. He squeezed the wall. Gustav Kille around the outside. He's going to try and go all the way for all the positions. Is he going to be able to find it? Well, here comes Raceway Andersen, meanwhile, as we ride on board with a P4 driver, tuck into the inside wall now as Edrup goes defensive. Kille gets ahead, and now he's got the overspeed. But here comes Raceway Andersen, then tucking into the tire. He's got a huge slipstream here. To the inside of turn 1 he goes. 3 wide they go to the apex, and as they made the way around, right now, oh my goodness, a big slide, and he just catches it as they come down towards turn number 3. Through the left-hander they go, and right now, Gustav Kille riding the curbs. You shouldn't put an F4 up on those before the start of the day, but he's showing you can ride them as if it's skateboarding, and in towards turn 7. My good lord, they calm it down, and Gustav Kille moves to P2, but one thing that hasn't changed, more than Edrup still leading. I don't know how.
I don't know how he does it as well. That was, though, how you have to say the save there from Kasper Ishøj Andersen to keep that car on the pavement. Oh my word, out of turn 1. That was a huge moment. We are, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, on the final lap now. And Gustav Kille is in the lead. Gustav Kille is in the lead. And Malte Ebrup is off, I think, or did he disconnect? Did something happen? He's gone, at least from the timing tower. And it looks like he might have had I don't know if his game crashed or something. It could look that way to me. And that would be an absolute disaster. We got Gustav Kille leading into the final sector, Paul. And Malte Ebrup, he cannot believe his luck. He's had good luck for most parts of the season. That is sort of the worst luck you could have at any sort of point here. Now Gustav Kille is trying to defend it from Victor Truslov, moving up on the outside here into the final complex. They will have the back straight to do and down to Sunset as well. Just about with the front wing underneath the car ahead there. Gustav Kille, I've never seen a car do that without ramming someone off in front. This is incredible. And Kasper Ishøj Andersen gonna make sure there are gonna be 3 wide into sunset yet again. Maybe an opportunity for Frederik Sørensen, who's got a good run here, Paul. Into sunset they go for the final time.
Well, they make the way through the final corner. The checkered flag gets ready to wave, and Gustav Killer's going to try and hold it round the outside. It's going to be a drag race then to the line. Victor Joseph Nielsen on the middle of the road. Meanwhile, here comes Raceway Anderson trying to go to the inside, and it is just going to go to Victor Joseph Nielsen, literally by a hair, and that is going to be his third win of the season. Casper Raceway Anderson takes P2. Gustav Killer takes P3, just not having enough momentum in the end. And my good lord, the top four separated by 2 attempts. You can see how much that means to Victor Joseph Nielsen. The emotions flow, and my good lord, we couldn't have asked for a more unpredictable end to that race, with the sudden retirement of Mulder Edrup, which would be the equivalent of an engine blowout in reality. And well, there are your results, ladies and gents, your provisional results subject to any stewards' inquiries. Victor Joseph Nielsen, your winner by 400ths over Casper Riese Anderson, with Gustav Killer completing a top 3, not even 600ths between them. Frederik Sørensen P4 ahead of Nicholas Simpson, who held on to P5 in the end, with Marcus Olsen finishing P6 in a row, but he will get a 3-second penalty that will demote him down to what will be P9, and it will promote what will be Noah Carlson, Asger Lauritsen, and Sander Broadbear up positions, and Nikolai M. Peterson completes your top 10. Meanwhile, best of SP11 is Marcus Tekilson. Let's not forget about his brilliant battle with Gustav Wimber earlier on in the race. Mats Luna there, P13. Mulder Edrup with that surprise retirement. P14 is classified ahead of Magnus Jørgensen, and then we saw a lap down Kasper Tunstedt, Luke Reimer, and the retirements of Nicholas Vine and Vitus Bever. But what a race, what a finish. And well, we've got to come straight to our race winner, Victor. What a result. I mean, we're speechless here at the Conti. If you look absolutely speechless, how does that feel to take a victory in the closest race of the season?
I have no clue what to say. Our going on to the last lap, I think I was down to P5 or 4. So it was really looking like Malte was taking it. But yeah, then his game suddenly crashed. Yeah, I don't know what to say. That was just wow.
Well, I can see it on your face, the fact I don't think it's quite coming into reality yet. I mean, this championship with this result is completely now blown wide open going into the final race of the season. I mean, coming into this round, you were at a points disadvantage, but I think that's now out the window. It's all pretty much neck and neck. How are you feeling for race number 2? Do you need a moment to try and understand how you should feel for race 2?
Yeah, I just don't know what to say. I'm so relieved and so in shock. I don't really know what has happened yet. So yeah, I don't even know what you asked me. I'm so in shock.
Well, that's absolutely fair, Victor. We'll tell you what, we'll let you grab a breather. Best of luck for race number 2, and we'll see you at the final checkered flag.
Thank you very much.
And here we are with our second place finisher, Casper Rishøj Andersen. Casper, that was a race to remember, the opening heat, some of the closest racing we've seen over the course of the season, and without a doubt, the most intense finale. How did your heart rate feel? I feel like I want to ask you that question. How was the heart rate on that final lap and through those final corners?
I mean, it's probably through the roof. It's around 124, I can tell you that much. So no, it was some crazy last laps. The first 3 laps were okay. We were settling the top 5 guys, I think, and then we go a bit away from the guys behind, and suddenly Victor and Malte started fighting, and it got pretty intense, to be honest. And then the final lap was absolutely amazing. A nice battle for the whole top, actually. It was really respectful and clean.
Yeah, and it was surprising that it would be kept clean with margins being that close. You had a huge moment exiting turn 1 yourself. But how did you manage to keep that under control?
Of course, a bit of luck, but also I just felt like, okay, now you really have to keep it, because I've had one incident. I think it was on Donington race 2 where I was in second place and slightly hit the curb. So I took experience from that and then took it with me here. But how I saved it, I don't know. Luck.
It looked absolutely insane. It's one of the best saves I've ever seen, Kasper. Congrats on a brilliant podium finish, on a brilliant second place in Heat 1, and best of luck to you as well for Heat 2.
Thank you so much.
So, Paul, an incredible round of racing here in the opening heat tonight has left me, well, speechless. And my draw, well, I'm not standing up. If I was, my draw would be hitting the floor. It just went straight to my belly and in between the legs, basically. I've rarely seen anything like that. That final lap was just incredible, and to see that kind of racing being pulled off so closely and then without any huge incidents, without it all ending in tears, except of course for Malte Ebdrup. But that's something else when the game freezes. It's just the worst possible time to get hit by that stroke of bad luck there for Malte Ebdrup, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. It could happen at any point in the race. It could happen to any race and any round this season, but it has to happen in the season finale all the time. So you can feel for Malte Ebdrup, but what he's got to do now is just regroup and say, right, I know I can't improve my score going into what is the second race, but what I can do is take as many points away from my rival and try and make that championship come to me. And he's got nothing to lose now. He's going to be starting from towards the back of the field, whereas, meanwhile, Victor Trzew-Nielsen will be starting at P8 in that race. So therefore, it's going to be two very different races between the drivers in terms of how their approach, but one man's got it all to lose, the other one's got it all to take, and in between them all you've got drivers like Kasper Andersen, Gustav Killer, who all just want to take some points for themselves. There's just so many stories now to play out. And one other thing as well, just before we get set for race number 2, remember how we opened up a Spa-Francorchamps with plenty of 3 and 4 wides? It feels like we've gone full circle from what was the start to the finish in terms of the intensity of the racing.
Yeah, it's been good throughout the season. Of course, it was something else at Spa, because Spa being Spa with those really long straights and the huge width of the track. But here at Sebring, it's been just incredible as well. And half a lap side by side for the two leaders at that point. That was incredible. Aske Lauritsen placed 8th in the opening heat. He gets pole position ahead of Noah Carlson. Markus Olsen there in third place. Look out for him for this second heat. He could be one to watch. Niklas Simonsen as well in the number 10 car, joining him on row 2. Frederik Sørensen and Gustav Kille joining each other on the 3rd row of cars. As we move down the order, it's Kasper Rishøj Andersen and Victor Trzew-Nielsen 7th and 8th on the grid, ahead of Sander Broberg and Nikolaj Pedersen rounding off the top 10. Then it's Markus Terkelsen and Gustav Vingborg just outside of the top 10 with Mads Lunde and Magnus Jørgensen. Then Malte Ebdrup 15th on the grid here. A huge mountain to climb for him. Let's see how the championship leader coming into these races are going to handle it. Kasper Thunstad 16th ahead of Luke Reimer, Niklas Meyen, and last but very much not least, Vitus Beber in 19th. And I feel my heart rate rising already in anticipation of what's about to happen here, Paul. It was so intense this first heat that to think we're going to have it again, but with the reverse grid as well, which has thrown chaos into these races throughout the season already, and certainly wouldn't hold back to do so again, I think, here at Sebring. It's going to be one to watch, ladies and gentlemen. If you need to do something, you've got a few seconds now, but otherwise it's going to be eyes glued to the screen for the next 20 minutes here.
Oh, 100%. You've summarised it absolutely perfectly, Hasse. And we've only got 1 or 2 drivers now to take their slots on the grid. They haven't got long, and in fact, I believe they are now all in place. So those lights will be going on shortly, and when they do, it will be the final time this season. Race 12 of 12 after what will have been 6 weeks of racing. 12 weeks when you put all the separation in, and we are here for what is that final race. There's still a championship on the line between Victor Trzew-Nielsen, who starts this race P8, and meanwhile Malte Ebdrup, who starts from P15. He's got it all to do. But here come the lights then, ladies and gentlemen, for the final time this season in where's the F1 Esports Danish Championship, brought to you by DASU. It is time at Sebring to decide who's our champions, because it's lights out, away we go here for our final race. And immediately there, it's a good start for Aske Lauritsen, as meanwhile Noah Carlson tries to tuck him behind. He can't find a way to the wall, so instead he has to go around the outside. And as they make the way too wide into the opening corner, we could already see a very different style to start from the front runners here in the fact. A little bit more 2x2 as they make the way up towards turn number 3. A big run wide there from Wildfire Drives further down the order. As they come into turn number 3, well, our leader already been given a bit of breathing room here as it's side-by-side battle between Markus Olsen and Noah Carlson. And coming out to turn number 5, I think they start to settle their differences just in time here, as now here comes a roaring charge from what is the number 10 of Niklas Simonsen, who's going to try and make his way up the order as quickly as possible and try to make a break of his own. But down in towards turn number 7 they go, 2x2, 3x3, a little bit further back. Gustav Killer right in the middle, big block up there from Wildfire Drives. I believe that's Niklas Simonsen who's gone on straight there, unless I'm mistaken. And indeed, it's what is Victor Joseph Nielsen, who we can see there in the foreground of your camera, tucked in behind Nicholas Simonsen, had that big lock-up, and the field now makes its way line astern these Formula 4s up in towards turn number 10. Well, it looks like it's been a relatively safe start for drivers Hassett, although as soon as I say that now, here comes the move from Simonsen, and just behind, we've got a bit of a move here from Mulder Edger. Oh, goodness me, and that's Gustav Killer into the grass.
Gustav Kilis into the grass, and I don't know what happened to him there. I'm sure we'll get a replay in a moment. Malte Ebdrup is up to 10th already on the opening lap here, Paul. That is quite the lap to pull off, to be very honest with you. Kasper Risøy Andersen has done a really good job as well, climbing from 7th to 4th. Noah, of course, Markus Olsen switching places with Noah Carlson. There we have it. And I didn't quite pick up if there was any contact, and there was like in the bunch of cars, so maybe a better view here. Yes, indeed, and that is the car of Niklas Simonsen, the number 10 machine, making contact with the rear end of the 11 car, and that might just be something that I know the stewards will be having a look at it. Let's see what they come to decide here. What a strong start from Ebdrup, though. He's up into 9th place already, as we see some heavy battling behind here. That's Markus Terkelsen, Gustav Wingbo, and Luke Reimer involved in this as well. And another 2-wide battle, maybe even some pushing and shoving going off. Further down there, oh, Reimer getting the squeeze there. Oh, and there's contact, and Luke Reimer manages to catch it. More chaos up ahead. I'm not sure Luke Reimer would have gotten unscathed from that, Paul. He might have had a little bit of damage to the car. But up ahead, it's still Eske Lauritsen, still Markus Olsen, then Noah Carlson, Kasper Risøy Andersen, and Victor Truslev Nielsen now sneaking in to the top 5 there, Paul.
Yeah, indeed, he's making some progress there as he pushes forward, but having to take this small steps at a time. And I think for Victor Truslev Nielsen, he knows that Mulder Edrup's not going to be too far away as he tries to pick up the places. We already have a 10-second penalty to the number 10 for causing a collision, so that's going to Niklas Simonsen, and that was the contact with Gustav Killer, as I almost stumble over my words there, given the intensity of the race, and it's making me speechless. And well, Markus Olsen, meanwhile, whilst all that's going on, the number 1 driver charges into P1 as they head in towards turn number 13 through the right-hander, and meanwhile Noah Carlson says, well, if Markus can do it, then surely I can do it too. But here comes Kasper Risøy Andersen making his way around the outside of Asker Lauritsen as they head in towards turn number 14, and he just suddenly makes his way into P3. I think for Risøy Andersen, afterwards that second place finish in race number 1, I get the Finn Hasse, he says to himself now, you know what, I think I can go for P1 again, given the fact I can make P2 happen here at Sebring. And he shows that in the fact as he makes his way out to turn number 15 and 16 and on towards 17 he goes. He tucks in, it's long line astern right now. You can see there in the time down the left-hand side of your screen, ladies and gentlemen, the position gains, and Mulder Edrup 7 places gained in less than 2 laps. He is absolutely flying. 2 places gained by Markus Olsen. Meanwhile, Noah Carlson, nothing gained, nothing lost. He is where he started this race. That's not a bad thing, but of course now he's got the pressure of a lot of very fast drivers who've found places already, and they are picking them up even more as we go on to lap number 3. But as our drivers make their way across the timeline, well, here comes a quick peek to the inside for Noah Carlson. We're right on board with our 3rd place man, Risøy Andersen, into the braking zone. He's going to try and part the seas here. That is very brave to think about putting his nose into that gap. He knows it's going to close. He backs off there. And talking about learning from Donington, he's definitely learned a lot since the season's gone on. And right now playing this very smart. It's as if he's playing chess, well, as everyone else is playing checkers here in terms of how he's picking these moves. And as they head in towards turn number 5, well, right now he's got Asker Lauritsen looking around the outside here. And I think it's going to be number 13 drivers trying to put the message through saying, remember me, I'm still here for P3. But Victor Truslev Nielsen's just behind, and all these drivers right now absolutely nip and tuck as they come down. But look at that in the left-hand side of your picture. Is that Mulder Edrup or Nicholas Simonsen? One of the two. In fact, they're going almost 3 wide there under braking in towards turn number 7, and somehow they've made it under braking there because Victor Nielsen just sneaks to the inside there of what is Risøy Andersen. He gets P4, and I don't know where Asker Lauritsen's disappeared in all of that, but it's still 2 wider as they headed towards turn number 10.
Asker Lauritsen has dropped, 4 or 5 places in the space of just a few seconds there, with the chaos coming down towards the hairpin. And we're on board with Malte Ebdrup, who's battling Niklas Simonsen in the number 10 car. Simonsen has a penalty, so he might just be backing off ever so slightly as he does, and he runs wide here as well. So he gets run wide a little bit. There's not a lot of space on the apex, but he doesn't insist on carrying the speed, which he is, of course, allowed to as well. Now, side by side again, here's we're on board with Niklas Simonsen, with Nikolaj Pedersen taking the position, and Simonsen, now the victim of circumstance as there's a slight contact. Gustav Kiele narrowly avoids it there. And that's just before Le Mans. He's just checking the car. It looks to be fine, I think. As he didn't seem too phased while getting back up to speed again, but I'm afraid it's going to be very, very hard for with that 10-second penalty, of course, taking that into mind as well for Niklas Simonsen to come back into contention for anything here tonight. Victor Troelsen Nielsen now up into 4th place. Malte Ebrup on his tail. He's up into 5th. So there will be a hot battle ensuing for the championship candidates there. Malte Ebrup, Victor Troelsen Nielsen, Kasper Rishøj Andersen still just biding his time in 3rd place as there's a move from Markus Olsen. Slight lock up, and Noah Karlsson is not having any of it as well. And these front 5 guys have been performing so well. Oh, just a slight wheel-to-wheel contact there. I think the best thing you could say about that for Simonsen is that he would have most probably avoided damage there. As to the inside goes Victor Troelsen Nielsen in the 21 car, and he just narrowly misses, I think, Kasper Rishøj Andersen in the 12 ahead of him. Or maybe the angle of our camera just made it look so. It might have been a little bit more under control than I'm making it sound, and here we have it, a drive-through penalty for the number 14 car for causing a collision. So there'll be a drive-through for Magnus Jørgensen for causing a collision. He's at the back of the field already. I think he might have taken that drive-through penalty, if I'm not completely mistaken. He's fallen down the order. Frederik Sørensen just getting past Aske Lauritsen here as well, Paul. And we're 8 minutes into this race already. As you said in Heat 1, time is absolutely flying when you're having fun. And there's bucket loads of fun to be had watching this racing. At Sebring, here goes Malte Ebrup on the inside. Oh my word. Picking up some grass, doing a bit of the botanizing there on the outside of the mount, just managing to keep it composed there, Victor Troelsen Nielsen. But he's got company in behind. The big advantage for Victor Troelsen Nielsen is that he is in the slipstream of other cars as well, so there isn't that huge advantage. As Markus Olsen and Kasper Rishøj Andersen duke it out just behind their 2 wide as well. Here Victor Troelsen Nielsen, Malte Ebrup side by side. I think Malte Ebrup was ahead by the apex, but it's now Victor Troelsen Nielsen as they cross the line for another lap of racing here, Paul.
On as they go on to another lap, heading towards the halfway point of the race distance now, and the gloves are coming off here. If they weren't already off at the start of today, they definitely are. Oh my goodness, that is a big defensive block there for the number 21 of what's Victor Troelsen Nielsen, trying to cover off Nikolaj Pedersen, who was trying to look to go to the inside there and firmly slamming the door, shutting his face and saying, no, you're not allowed here. It's me and my championship rival. We don't need any outsiders. But as they come through turn number 6 and in towards 7, well, Nikolaj Pedersen's not going to disappear like that. He's still here in a flash. He takes a bit of grass with him. And as they come down towards the braking zone, you can see Mordy Edrup there on what is the inside. Meanwhile, Nielsen on the outside. Onto the brakes, are going to turn 7. The 2 rivals, they're both run each other a little bit deep. And you can see that Nielsen's having to take to the escape line there, which is across the dirt, in order to be able to survive that and stay on course. And, well, meanwhile, here comes Nikolaj Pedersen now, as it's a big run up onto the curb there for what is Troelsen Nielsen. In towards turn number 10 they go. Being up the inside of 1, he's on the inside of 2, and Nikolaj Pedersen is saying right now, I don't care if you're championship leaders, I'm still going to go for this. As they come up through with turns 11, 12 and 13. And, well, you would imagine that right now, for Mordy Edrup, given he's up in a P4, he feels like he can break away, but he's got to try and get away from a very stubborn, he's absolutely stubborn as a bad rash right now on his backside. And that is Nikolaj Pedersen, who's absolutely gluing himself to the 2 championship leaders and wanting just to get stuck into this. I think he's been wanting to do this since the start of the season. And right now he's getting his prime chance, as the top 3 is not really breaking away either. The next driver up the road, only half a second, is a Kasper Rishøj Andersen. A big run out wide there, and that Mordy Edrup going out that way. He's kept it planted, he's kept it going in a straight line, and, well, pretty much doing the same as Victor Troelsen Nielsen. But goodness me, they were running on the ragged edge of adhesion here and then some. And that's not to forget the 2 free wide that's happening in the rear of the picture there, but we're staying towards the front, as this is going to be a long look round the outside for Markus Olsen versus Kasper Rishøj Andersen, as Rishøj Andersen has a big slide there going through the final corner. They're 2 wide now heading towards the timeline, and as they cross the line this time, it is going to be at least another 4 laps laps, including this one, as they head down towards turn number 1. But goodness, as Molde Edra had to go defensive again against Nikolai Peterson. And right now, the only one thing that seems to be certain here, Hasse, is that Noah Carlson is being given a little bit of breathing room in the lead as they head into turn 3. 2 by 2 they go. And in the end, well, it is going to be Molde Edra who just holds off Nikolai Peterson for now. And likewise, Kasper Russo Anderson holds on to P3. But I don't think it's going to be long before we see that change again.
And I think it's going to be a very, very welcome breather for Noah Carlson up ahead. He's been at the lead of this race since the start, basically. What a duel between Markus Olsen and Kasper Rishøj Andersen for the second place at the moment. And now Malte Ebdrup all the way to the tail, and Markus Olsen gets spun. I'm not quite sure if there was contact, but I do think there was a slight bit of contact between Kasper Rishøj Andersen and Markus Olsen, and we'll see what the stewards say about that. But it looked very close, and it looked like it could be considered a racing incident. I'm not quite sure here. Malte Ebdrup now trying to get the better of Kasper Rishøj Andersen, with Nikolai Pedersen also trying to take advantage of the loss of momentum for the driver in the 12 car, and Malte Ebdrup taking absolutely no prisoners here. He's moved past. He's now up into second place, and more importantly for him, he still has Victor Trost-Nielsen in fourth down behind. He's going to be on the chase for as many points as he can get here, Paul.
Oh, indeed, going to be pushing it to the absolute limit, all the way to the end. It's a big run wide there for Molde Edra. I mean, now it looks so there. He's trying to carry so much speed out of turn number 16. He's got to be careful that if he keeps making a habit of it, the stewards might decide that he might be using that to gain a bit of an advantage, albeit with the amount he's running wide out there at the moment. The fact he's keeping it pointed in a straight line is testament to how he's able to turn the F4 into a rallycross machine. But Nikolai Peterson there on the inside of Kasper Russo Andersen as they come down and around through turn number 3. As they roar the way around here, we're charging towards the timing line and heading in towards another lap, and trying to do the mental maths in my head at the moment in terms of how the championship permutations. You know, I'm just going to park all the mathematics and leave it to later, because this racing right now is absolutely on point. As we see, Kasper Russo Andersen still trying to hold that outside through turn 1 as Nikolai Peterson scoots to the inside. Meanwhile, here comes Victor Trost-Nielsen, who now knows he's got to get back ahead of this fighting in order to give himself a little bit more leverage in the points battle between himself and Molde Edra. But through that left-hander at turn number 5 they go, and as they do, well, it looks so for the first time in about 5 laps they've stopped going too wide through Big Bend, as we can see a little shake of the wheel there for what is Victor Trost-Nielsen. And he needs to get back into that fight. Perhaps also getting some of the kinks there out of what is his wrist. And as they make the way into the break-ins over turn number 7, well, Nikolai Peterson just defending there now, and that is giving Molde Edra a bit of breathing room. 6 tenths already is the gap that started to open up in the fight to P2. And as they roar the way up towards what will be turn number 10, when Noah Carlson will feel as though if he can keep up this pace, he may just be able to run away with this, whereas everybody else right now in this fight is scrapping for the rest of the podium positions. And Nikolai Peterson there already becoming the thorn in everybody's side, just trying to keep on behind as we have a replay here of what happened. And this was, I believe, the number 1 of Markus Olsen. And was there a tap? Was there not? It doesn't look like there was a tap. I think just getting the power down a little bit too eagerly with a lot of steering lock, and in the end going around. But what were your thoughts, Hasse, as we get the slow-mo?
I think he's sliding already, and then as you see right there, you can see it on the very far end of the car as well. He does get a slight helping hand, but what I think will be the weight on the feather on the weight. Did you even say that in English? I don't think you do. Anyway, the feather on the weight, it's the same we have in Danish, is the fact that he's already sliding and sort of has the car out of control as Kasper Rishøj Andersen makes the slightest of contacts, and he got nowhere else to go. So Kasper Rishøj Andersen, I don't think, can really be put at fault for that situation there. It has to go down, for me at least, as a racing incident. Of course, the stewards might consider differently, but then we would agree to disagree, and of course, it's not me making the decisions in that stuff as well. So 5 minutes to go here. It's going to be 3 more laps after this one. It's going to be 3 more laps after this one, Paul, I think. And Frederik Sørensen on the outside here, is he? Oh, and several drivers taking the rallycross route in behind. It was Frederik Sørensen in the blue number 5 cars. That's a bit of a send on the 15 as well of Markus Terkelsen. but just managing to make it stick and make it work out, and time again, it's incredible that it doesn't go wrong more often than it does. We haven't seen that many incidents throughout this series, but the racing has been absolutely insanely close with these F4 cars. Some of the most entertaining racing you could probably watch on all of iRacing, and if you were talking circuit racing at least. And onto this lovely drone shot as well, giving us a nice angle to cover the battling dual 2-wide action in the battle for what I believe is 7th place. Whereas Falk Sørensen is actually in 7th, so 6th, 7th, and so forth down here, Paul. It's so much happening. It's hard keeping track of everything. But what I will tell you, 4 minutes remaining, Noah Carlson still leading, Malte Ebdrup ever so slightly closing the gap, and he is within the slipstream, so you wouldn't put it past him to get up there again. But behind, Nikolaj Pedersen, 2 seconds down, they would have lost the slipstream on the 2 leaders, and that's the number 2 machine, and that's a terrible accident further down. And I'm afraid that's going to be the end of the race for, well, I didn't see who else was involved in that one. Sander Broberg most certainly out of it. A heavy crash as well. And I wonder who that was involved. The second car there, was it Niklas Vine?
It was Marcus Olsen, I believe, because Marcus Olsen's had to be towed to the pits as a result of that almost immediately. So I think it's the number 1 and the number 2 coming together. So whilst they might have numerically been next to each other in terms of standings, they also did have that numerical coming together here. And well, we see the replay and was 3 wide into the corner in the end, ran out of room, and goodness me, we're just launching the car over the top of his neighbour there. And well, when these cars get airborne, they get airborne very quickly. They're all about their downforce, and very unfortunate there. The number 13 as well of Asger Lauritsen being caught up, so 3 drivers all caught in an absolutely huge shunt. And here's the onboard house. I mean, it's time for takeoff, and not a happy one.
No, and incredible that the 13 car there isn't more damage. The car of Asger Lauritsen does take a spinner, might have a little bit of damage, but is able to continue on. I find that pretty incredible and so on. Now look at Malte Ebdrup. He's closed up to half a second in about the space of a lap here. He's now on the tail of Noah Carlson with 2.5 minutes left to go. They will have another lap after this. There will be plenty of opportunities for Malte Ebdrup to grab a win from 15th place on the grid with just 20 minutes of racing. That just tells you a little bit of the story, and that'll be a long tail for Malte to tell, I think, in the interviews, with all the overtakes he's had to have done, with all the stuff that's happened around him, with all the close calls, all the incidents we've seen. Oh my word, Malte Ebdrup now on the tail of the number 3 car there of Noah Carlson, trying to make life difficult for the championship leader, but that might be a compromised exit for Carlson here, Paul. And I think it's going to be a chance for Malte Ebdrup to have an outside run down through Sunset, and we've seen it work out. If they can go side by side down through here, they'll stay 2 wide down the start-finish straight, and if you can keep the run, you'll be on the inside for turn 1, but that is another type of strategy for Malte Ebdrup, as he just pulls out of it, gets a much better run, and on the finish line they are absolutely neck and neck. Malte Ebdrup just squeezes ahead, and there's an incident in down behind, at least a puff of smoke. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Noah Carlson, no love lost there. He's giving the minimum amount of space. Malte Ebdrup just about keeps it on the gray stuff there, and Noah Carlson, great job by him. On to the final lap they are, Paul. He just about keeps the lead for now.
Well, he's gone deep. He's gone deep at turn 5, and as soon as he does that, he loses momentum here versus Malte Ebdrup. Ebdrup goes around the outside here and gets ahead as Noah Carlson is made to take 2 wheels to the grass there. Malte Ebdrup are now going all in on this, and well, coming into this final lap, you can see Victor Joseph Nilsson dive into the inside behind, and these are key overtakes because whilst we've been going through this, I've been crunching the maths, and I believe, based on how it goes, it's going to come down potentially to the fastest lap point over the 2 races, because right now, as they make the way on through, it's going to be Victor Joseph Nilsson trying to hold on to P3. He needs this 3rd place as a minimum to give himself a chance to take the championship. And Nikolaj Pedersen says, I don't care about your P3. I want it for myself. And looks around the outside there into turn 10. And as they roar the way on through, Kasper Riese Andersen just watches on behind as Malte Ebdrup and Noah Carlson almost going 2 wide there into turn number 13. These battles right now for the podium positions, it could all come down to the finest of margins between the drivers as they make the way then For the final time up through turn number 14, in towards what will be Le Mans corner shortly. As you can see, Mulder Edrup still leading, but right now, Nielsen's got to find his way through. We're looking back from the race leader then as the number 3 stands prominently there into Le Mans corner. It's all going to be about a long charge out to turn number 16, the drag race here. And you can see right now, Noah Carlson, I think he would duck down in that cockpit if he felt as though it gave him more speed there, try and reduce the aerodynamic drag. But as they make the way on the back straight, you can see behind as well there, the Victor Joseph Nielsen looking to go around the outside. Noah Carlson trying to do the same here. And as they head through the final corner, he started his day P15 in race number 2 after the heartbreak end of race number 1. He roars his way out the final corner. It's a drag race to checkered flag, but I think for Mulder Edrup, he crosses the line, and I think with what is Nikolai Peterson P3 behind Noah Carlson and Kasper Risa Anderson, Victor Joseph Nielsen completing your top 5, I think provisionally, ladies and gentlemen, Mulder Edrup may have just done it enough to take the championship crown. I'm not going to confirm it because I've got it wrong last time on the broadcast, and I'll put my hand up on that, but as they come to line with cars missing some parts there as well, it has been a dramatic end with Luke Reimer P6, Gustav Wimborg P7, and we're looking all the way back here to what is a wounded number 13 in the form of Asger Lauritsen making his way in towards the final quarter. It is a dramatic end to the race, and well, my goodness, we're going to have to try and get some mathematicians and some calculators out here as the race does come to its close, and our last driver makes his way to what will be that time in line. And well, there are the provisional results, ladies and gentlemen, subject to any stewards' inquiries. Mulder Edrup from a P15 start after the retirement on the final lap of race 1 finishes your winner. The longest drive from the back of the field, but becomes your winner by a 10th, if that of Noah Carlson, who did incredibly well to finish P2. Nikolai Peterson was P3 behind and just held off Kasper Risa Anderson and Victor Joseph Nielsen, who lost out at the end on the final corner to fall to P5. Luke Reimer was P6, a further 7 seconds behind. Gustav Wimborg P7 ahead of Mads Luna, with Nicholas Stevenson and Gustav Killer in the end completing your top 10. Bester SP11 was Niklas Wein ahead of Marcus Tekilson, and it was Kasper Tunstead who a 13th place finish to seal his deal for this racing week ahead of Magnus Jørgensen. And then we did see Fredrik Sørensen completing your top 15. Asger Lauritsen was your last lead-up finish at P16, a lap down to both Sander Brobert and Marcus Olsen with their huge shunt at what was Le Mans corner on the penultimate lap. And then Vitas Viver, the sole main retiree, 8 laps down in the end, P19. But goodness me, as the embers fall, ladies and gentlemen. Well, over to you, Hasse, to interview our race winner and have his full story.
Malte Ebdrup, perhaps the most incredible performance of the season for you, and that's saying quite a lot with the wins you've had, with the sort of dominance you've had as well, with the performances we've seen from you as well. 15th to winning in a race that threw so much chaos about. I'm expecting your story. If you had to tell everything from this race, we'll probably take the rest of the evening, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I had a disconnect in lap 1 on the last lap where I was leading, so that was really sad. But yeah, I just tried everything in race 2 and managed to get a good start and catch up Noah and take the win. So overall, I'm happy about the Heat 2, but unfortunately, I don't think it's enough to win the championship.
I'm not quite sure about that. I'm not going to make any promises because I think we've put our necks on the line saying something that was wrong in terms of the point standings before here from the commentary booth, and we don't want to make that sort of mistake. And I think I'll leave Paul, he's the math brain of the two of us in here, so I'll leave him to it. But we're on the fence about it, and we'll have to see. But with a win here that was incredible. 7 position gains in the first laps and a half. That reminds me of Senna at Donington.
Yeah, it was a really good start, and I managed to not get involved in all the crashes. So, it was a really good start.
And from what I can see, I think this is unofficial, Malte. From what I can see here, it's a tie. Which means that I think you're the champion on wins. Unofficially, at least, we're still waiting for confirmation. But
of course,
it has to be a bit of an emotional trip with the disconnect in the first race and then such a performance in the second one to seal it under an amount of pressure that you haven't been for the entire season as well.
Yeah, in the last race, I didn't really think it was possible to win the championship, so I was just having fun. I want to have a good last race, and I just gave it all, and yeah, managed to win. But yeah, let's see what the standings are. But I am not quite sure. But I'm crossing my fingers. So let's see.
Well, if nothing else, Malte, you've given us an incredible season's worth of racing, of performances, of wins as well. We're clapping our hands here from the commentary booth, and what an incredible performance here in Heat 2 as well to possibly turn it around. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. See you.
See you. So we're going to go over to Paul, who's ready with Noah Carlson.
Well, with all results being provisional, we should point out, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that's not provisional is I think the happiness coming from Noah Carlson right now. Noah, what an absolutely brilliant drive. You've put on some fantastic drives this season and a P2 to wrap up your championship campaign. And most importantly, we believe provisionally securing that P3 in the championship that you told us you were chasing all season long. How does it feel to have ended your season on a high?
Yeah, amazing. As you said, the goal was just to finish third in the championship this race and keep the position.
Well, with that goal in mind, let's go into a little bit of the racing. I mean, it was absolutely back and forth. Race number 1 was full of theatrics, and race number 2 as well. I mean, you led that for so long. And at certain points, we thought you were going to be breaking away, but it looked so in the closing stages, either Mode just caught up or you ran out of a little bit of steam.
Yeah, he was just too fast. He catched up to me and overtook me. So that was not as satisfying as it, not as satisfying for me at least.
Well, it may not have been the satisfying end compared to what it could have been, but when you reflect on the season as a whole, I mean, we had a fantastic day of racing here at Sebring. You were right in the thick of it in both races, and I think that's been your story of the season in the hunt for P3 in the championship, in that you've really just enjoyed the battling from round to round.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did the best I could, and I knew that Victor and Malte was, going to take the 2 first places from the very beginning.
Well, still, to be fair, you've got one win you can take over everybody, and that was the race 2 win at Spa-Francorchamps. So you've got that one victory you can always keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, no, we'll leave you there. But congratulations once again on what is provisionally P3 in the championship and a phenomenal end to your season. And thank you for joining us in the interview room.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think we're going to now come to Hasse to have a chat with Victor Joseph Nielsen.
Yeah, Victor Joseph Nielsen, incredible race in Heat 2, and from what it looks like here, it's going to be a tie on points between yourself and Malte. That means Malte takes it on countback for wins. But you certainly gave a fight here tonight, and as I said, that's unofficial.
Yeah, I think you are, unfortunately right. I think we are equal on points, but I can only be mad at myself and look at what I did today. I can only look, to myself. I'm not, as you can hear, happy right now, but of course, P2 in the Danish championship is still good, but when you are so close, it's bitter.
It must be incredibly bitter, especially considering how the last lap really happened, and that you, for at least for a few moments on the last lap, there were P3, which would have gotten you the championship in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know what position I had to be if Malte won, so I just tried to keep it on track because the guys around me was, especially one of them was really too aggressive, so I didn't want to risk anything. Yeah, but that cost me the win at the end, I think. So that's just a mistake from me. But we learn from mistakes, so that's what I can take from this.
Victor, if nothing else, you had put up a grandiose fight, and you've made it a run for it all the way to the literal line of the final round. Both you and Malte Ebrup going to Iceland to represent Denmark as well in a few months. That must be pretty cool as well.
Yeah, right now I'm not thinking about that, but it will be cool. I don't know what to say. It was looking like a glory after race 1, and now I'm just sad. But I can be sad tomorrow. But then I will go on the racetrack in the real world, so maybe I can enjoy a little bit there.
Well, best of enjoyment. It's been a pleasure following the racing along here as well from the commentary booth, Victor, and a shame it didn't work out for you at the end here.
Thank you very much.
So Paul, that was Victor Trostero Nielsen. What a finale to the season here. We're still waiting the final results from the stewards as they're doing a countback on wins and such. We didn't have any penalties, by the way, I can assure you that. So none of that coming into play for the final round here. I've sort of lost the plot here even. That was so wild, there was so much happening, and I don't think, Paul, that any of us really had a sense that it was going to come down to it like this, and yet it did, and we couldn't have written it any better.
Oh, you're 100% right. I mean, it has been an absolutely fairy tale ending to the championship from a spectator's perspective. And news is broken, ladies and gentlemen. This is breaking news. We have confirmation that Mulder Edrup is your 2025 DASU F4 Esports Championship winner, and winning in the end on a tie, but result countback, taking 2 more wins compared to what was his rival Victor Trostero Nielsen. And I can see there, Hasse, you shaking your head in the content. I mean, you can't make this up. We thought it was going to be close. We didn't think it was going to be this close. And I mean, yeah, sure, there was the retirement in race number 1 for Mulder Edrup. But to be fair, when he was put on the spot, he had to fight his way through. And to do it from P15 to take victory, I mean, what a way to crown your championship with a champion's drive.
That is an absolute champion's drive. There's no better way of putting it, Paul. And I think what Malte told us as well is that he didn't think it was even possible for him to win the championship. So he sort of just drove with no sort of pressure and just trying to have fun, trying to get a good last race of the season in. I think that might just have been to his advantage. At least we know he's a cool cucumber, Malte Edrup. We know he's cool under pressure. He's calm under pressure, and he performs very well under pressure as well. But from there to being able to go from 15th place on the grid to taking the win on the penultimate lap over a 20-minute heat, it's just a pure display of class. And as I said before, it might just come down to an advantage for Malte that he actually thought it wasn't possible for him to win in the first place there.
Oh, very true. But one thing that also has to be said as well, whilst everyone will be talking about Mulder Edrup taking the crown by that result countback, and in fact, I've just had it confirmed in my ear, it's 7 wins for Mulder versus what is the 3 for Victor Trostero Nielsen. Let's not forget, and we need to give a round of applause to both of our top 2, indeed, in all of our field, but particularly Victor Trostero Nielsen, in the fact that statistically, ladies and gentlemen, he was the more consistent driver over the season compared to Mulder Edrup in the results, but in the end, it was the edge on wins, and that is the tiniest of margins. You never have a championship go down to those fine margins unless you've got 2 absolutely clinical rivals out there. And in the end, well, for Victor Trostero Nielsen, he may walk away from this one right now feeling absolutely fuming that it hasn't worked out. But I can assure you, when he looks back on it, he'll think as though it's probably the best championship battle he's ever had. And we did see the rest of the championship stands, our top 3 being completed by Noah Carlson with that phenomenal drive to P3. But it does sadly mean, doesn't it, Hasse, that it's now time for us to bring things to a close, because it has been a phenomenal season. Wouldn't you agree?
I would absolutely agree, Paul. It's been a phenomenal season's worth of racing. It's been such a pleasure commentating on it. It's been such a pleasure sharing the booth with you as well. We've had an absolute blast doing it. I'd like to extend our thanks to folks at Racespot TV, to Hugo there, and to, of course, iRacing for having us on the broadcast as well. It's been such a good round of racing here tonight. It's been such a good season, and I'd just like to say thank you all for watching along as well. And until next time, Paul, it's been a pleasure. Everyone, take care, have fun. Bye-bye.